Guys, in today's video, I want to go over exactly how you guys can improve if you are playing on controller in Chapter 4 and in 2023 in general. I'm going to be going over some of the best tips that I have not gone over in previous videos for you guys to honestly and truly understand what the best proper ways to improve on controller are. Because a lot of controller players are at a skill threshold where they're not able to really improve as much as they want to. And these are some of the basic things that you guys can do in order to break that skill threshold and then really pop off and become a pro player in the end. Now be sure to use code SonataYT in the Fortnite item shop if you guys do want to support me. Let's hop right into this video. Now I want to start off by going over exactly how and why you guys should be learning the controller playstyle. So for most of you that don't exactly know, the controller playstyle is going to be a very aggressive one, people that are good at fighting, people who understand exactly how and when to take fights. Oftentimes you'll see these types of players doing really well in cash cups and not as well in FNCSs, unless obviously they know what they're doing and they've actually learned the controller playstyle. The average controller player has good fighting IQ, has aggressive, good mechanics, and they're able to win most of their mid-game fights. They're also able to loot really fast, have very good aim, have very good drop spots, and overall just dominate the fighting and mechanical aspect of the game. However, what I really want you guys to try and do is dominate that aspect of the controller playstyle. There are controller players that are very good at fighting, but the majority of players who are especially newer to the game are not going to be as good at fighting as they could be. You need to be able to learn this. You need to play a bunch of arena, you need to play a bunch of zone wars, scrims, whatever you need to do in order to improve your fighting in competitive aspect lobbies, you need to do that. I'd recommend that you guys learn this playstyle by watching professional players such as Miro, Reet, Byla. Those are just a couple of some of the best controller players in the world that have some of the best fighting. If you're able to watch and learn from these pro players, you're not only going to improve your skill, but you're also going to improve amongst the other competitive players around you, considering that the lobbies improve as you improve. What this in turn will do is make you get to a higher tier of Fortnite competitive player and have you get better lobbies and better opportunities to practice with the higher level players. Now, once you guys have finished learning this controller playstyle, you need to honestly understand some small nits and picks aspects of it. First off is something that a lot of controller players tend to overlook when actually focusing on their mechanical training. This is the fact that you definitely need to aim train. Now, this is something I cannot stress enough. Obviously, most keyboard players that are trying to get good at the game try to aim train as much as possible. However, something that a lot of controller players overlook, and I even see this in professional players, is that they forget to use aim trainers. Now, what I would recommend is that you guys train your aim inside of Fortnite itself. You can do this by using a creative map like Skavooks, or you can just go in and do aim duels with random people. This also means that you need to have your aim assist settings already figured out, have the perfect sensitivity, perfect Z zone, just overall make sure that your settings are good to go before you actually get into this. But what really matters is that you need to train your game inside of Fortnite. The reason that external aim trainers aren't going to be as good for you controller players is because they don't really connect very well with controller, and also they really don't understand the actual movement aspects and different sensitivities and dead zones of Fortnite. Also, the aim assist is not there, so you're really not going to get to use the aim assist correctly and have it help you out while trying to aim. The point of aim training is to make your raw aim better. So if you do that coupled with aim assist, not only will you greatly improve, but you're also going to get really used to your aim assist as you use it more and more. I'd also recommend, in the same boat of this, is that you guys make sure you are correct on linear or exponential. A lot of people use linear nowadays. However, there are some pro players such as Reet who do use exponential, and the reason for this is because what linear essentially does is that it's going to stay at one linear constant speed based upon the way that you're building or the way that you're shooting, and then exponential is going to change based upon your build sensitivity and then your aiming sensitivity. It's going to change based upon the amount that you've actually surpassed your dead zone and the amount of your sensitivity that you have it set at. Now that's a very nuts and bolts explanation of linear versus exponential, but you definitely need to make sure that you double down and understand exactly which one is right for you. And once you're done with those two things, you're going to be able to once again aim train using stuff like creative maps, using stuff like 1v1 aim duels. And then obviously you need to practice this in arena. So hop into arena, start W keying, try to really focus on your aim, take your time with your shots, and you're going to be able to effectively aim train as a controller player. Now the next thing I'd recommend that pretty much every single controller player tries to train is their crosshair placement. Now, crosshair placement is really important for mechanical skill in Fortnite, and this isn't just for controller players, it's really valuable for keyboard players as well. However, especially for controller players, the aim assist does actually mess a little bit with your editing and your building, so you're going to need to get really used to making sure that your crosshair travels the least amount of distance possible and that you're able to effectively edit and build at the sufficient speed that you need to have in order to play in high competitive lobbies. Now, this betters not only your controller mechanics, but it also helps polish your aim and overall skill by helping you get used to your dead zone, sensitivity, aim assist mode, and overall setup in game. Having really good crosshair placement can be achieved pretty simply as long as you guys try to use creative maps and just overall focus it on it more. You guys can use stuff like Xenix60's crosshair placement map. That's going to be really helpful for a lot of people trying to improve their crosshair placement, especially controller players. You guys can also go into game and make sure that you have an idea of where you're going to be placing your crosshair, the types of edits you guys are going to go for. Well, essentially what I'm trying to explain is that for controller players, it's really hard to actually very specifically practice on some small mechanical skills like keyboard players can. What's a lot better for controller players is that they understand something pretty quickly in creative or something like that, and then they go into arena and they actually try to apply it, because the best way to learn is through experience, and you gain experience by actually playing the competitive game. Crosshair placement is extremely important, especially for aim, especially when you guys are trying to aim in close quarter situations, but also it's very helpful in long range situations, because a lot of controller players tend to complain that long range aim assist isn't very good. That's why a lot of them tend to go on keyboard for their storm surge tags. But once again, it's really important to train your crosshair placement so that you really don't need to do this, and you can actually perfect your aiming and your overall placement on different targets around the map. Now be sure to check out those creative maps that I linked in the description. They're all going to be there, and that's how you improve your crosshair placement as a controller player, and in turn you're going to improve your overall gameplay. Now the final tip that I have for exactly how to improve on controller is to improve your game sense. Now most controller players in this modern day and age are aggressive players, and they lack the ability to think about the end game and overall how to play the game from a more game sense perspective. What I mean by this is that they're not necessarily the smarter players in the lobby. What they're more thinking about is how to get all the eliminations that they can, and rather how to avoid the zone, how to rotate, how to position. You need to play stuff like scrims, you need to VODder, you need to watch smart IGLs, especially controller IGLs if you can, and learn the ins and outs of the game regarding game sense. Game sense and overall IGL knowledge is going to not only help you but help your team out a lot, because you're able to effectively learn how to play the game while also having very good fighting aspects. This gives you the best of both worlds when it comes to fighting versus also understanding how to play the game from a game sense perspective. It's going to make you absolutely incredible, especially when you guys are playing stuff like solos, because oftentimes controller players succeed in solos because of their W key potential. But just imagine how good a controller player would be if they had the same ability to W key as Miro, but they also had the brain of Booga. It's absolutely incredible and insane to think about. Game sense is not something that can be improved overnight. You really need to practice this one. This is arguably the hardest thing for most controller players to improve. Definitely double down on this if you can. It's not only going to help you out, but it's going to help your teammates out if you are playing duos with them. And overall, it's going to make you a much better solo player, which in turn will have you get more PR, which then will make you get better teammates and then obviously succeed in the future. Don't be hesitant to go ahead and watch other controller players that are pretty smart, such as, like I mentioned before, Miro. You guys can watch some older Colazo clips if you want as well. Colazo was one of the best controller IGLs out there. Scoped is a pretty smart player when it comes to actually playing competitive Fortnite. He's very smart in team game modes, very smart around the map and getting around the area. Overall, there's a bunch of different players that you guys can watch. Some EU players such as Lecce in the old days. They were all very smart and they all understood exactly how to play. But if you guys follow any and all of these tips, you're definitely going to see some improvements in your controller gameplay. But anyways, guys, that is the video on exactly how to improve on controller in 2023. If you guys did enjoy, please consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel down below. This video was very fun to make, considering that I haven't really visited the topic of controller in a while. I find it very refreshing to go onto a new input and understand exactly how they think versus how I think. But that's better for this video, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, guys.